Testing one, test, test, test. Brett, is that too loud? Is that okay over there? Is that okay over there, Brett? Okay, test, test, test. Testing one, test 1, 2, test, test, test.
Now, we're talking sports. It's time for the Saturday Sports Countdown with Brett Pritchard, Randy Lee, and Luke Robinson. Auburn, Alabama, around the SEC, and around the nation. This is the Saturday Sports Countdown. To be a part of the program, call 256-234-6221. Now, let's join Brett, Randy, and Luke for the Saturday Sports Countdown.
Good Saturday morning. Welcome into the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown. Randy Lee alongside Brett Pritchard this morning, taking your phone calls at 256-234-6221. It's a beautiful day outside in Alexander City, Alabama. We're right here at JR Sports Bar and Grill as we are each and every Saturday from 10 to 12. And Brett, it's a good time to head into this program saying this. It's a wonderful time in our life to be part of Alexander City. I'll just be brutally honest with you. When I look outside, there's so many different things that are going on in this community that are highlighting what we already had, the beauty of Lake Martin and many other things that are going on. We got a turkey trot and beer run and craft beer festival that'll be across the street and in this area coming up here at 12 o'clock registration, 1 o'clock we'll start the run. Looking forward to that. Last night just continues along a strong string of great play from our athletic department over at Benjamin Russell High School as we'll move on to the semifinal round in high school football as we'll head down for the third out of 4 years down to Spanish Fort. I'm really looking forward to that, Brett.
Yeah, we are. And I'll start back with what you said in the beginning of the show with downtown Alexander City and the work that's been put in. This hasn't happened overnight. There's been a lot of groups and a lot of people come together to make things happen. And I'll use this for an example. This morning, the Turkey Trot Beer Run and Craft Beer Festival. You don't have to like beer and you don't have to like being a part of that because a lot of people do. And then so there's going to be another event at some point in time that you may be very interested in that some of the people that participate in this don't. What I like is the variety of options now that you have to be part of a lot of different things. And when you offer all types of different things, you kind of hit everybody at some point in time and you bring other people in from other communities and you don't see us having to always go outside of the city limits to take part of something that's fun. And, you know, it takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of conglomeration on our city council's part and our administration and all the different types of groups and civic organizations in the town. That's what makes up a community. If you don't have strong civic clubs and organizations and groups like that, then you don't really have these kind of ideas and everybody just kind of goes about their daily life and works. But very proud of that, very proud of our school system and what they produce and how we represent wherever we go. I mean, last night was a prime example, and I decided this morning I'm not going to mince any words because I was, in my 18 years of broadcasting, the most appalled I've ever been at the opposing team. And, you know, there's two things that you can do when something like that happens if you're the perpetrator. Number one, you can look at it and go back and say, man, that's just not how we need to be, and that's not how we need to represent. Or you can take a negative attitude and say, we got cheated and, you know, world's against me and I don't like the way this is going. And so I'm not going to act right. And so our kids, on the other hand, chose the higher road. And that's what I'm proud of. That's the point where I'm going is what we instill in our community, our families, our parents, our administration. They know what we expect, and the product shows on the field. I was proud of our kids for not buying in to trying to get into a mess last night because that could have gotten out of hand.
It's 2 weeks in a row. McAdory was the same way the week before. I felt like they're trying to bait us in to getting a few of our top guys out, and it didn't work. We just continued to play physical football, which is what Danny Horn and this coaching staff coach is what I love about our program right now is, and we'll get into Auburn later. But when you talk about our program, we got an identity. And we got an identity going down to Spanish Fort next Friday night. You either can match up, and good luck. Good thing for Spanish Fort, and I'll tip my hat to that program. Last 2 times we've been down there, they've been able and willing to match up physically. Yeah. And that's the thing I didn't know that they'll be willing to do even 2 times ago when we went down that way. But it is, and we'll stay right here. I want to stay with the community as we move through this first segment. I want to commend the Parks and Rec of Alexander City. Now, the city council and the mayor and everybody's got to be behind them, because you don't just put on a display like they did without funds. So those guys you should tip your hat to them as well. Not only our Parks and Rec, but you should tip your hat to them to allow us to put on a top-notch facility like we had last night. We had a reporter from Birmingham that caught Brett and myself. He'd never been down to Alexander City until last night. He said, "Is this normal?" I said, "I came up to the facility, and am I at a college facility? He was talking about our kids when they were walking out on the field. And women. He said, "We need to go back to Birmingham and bring this to several of our schools over in our area." And I was taken back by that, but I'm so used to seeing what I see on the field on Friday that sometimes you forget and you let it pass you by. But I want to commend Sonny Wilson, Matthew Kill, Mike Goodwin, the entire crew at the Alexander City Parks and Rec, because I promise you, they put in a lot of extra time to make that look like it did last night.
I've gone out there and watched those guys paint that field, and it does not happen in an hour or two. I mean, you're talking a couple of days of taking some guys and going out there and making sure that playing surface is as good as it possibly can be, because we go around to other stadiums and look, I'm not going to name any, but and it's maybe not their fault. Maybe they do the best they can with what they have. And you're concerned when you walk on the playing surface that somebody might break a leg. I mean, that's how it is in a lot of facilities. When you walk out on our field, you think you're at Auburn or Alabama. You think you're at a college facility. And, Sonny Wilson and Matthew Keel and Mike Goodwin and the whole crew over there, they take pride in that. That's their employment. That's their place of employment. So it's a direct reflection on them. So they go, not only are we doing this for everybody else, but we've got pride in what we do. We want people to walk in here and see what a great product is, and it doesn't matter how much time. We'll stay overtime. We'll work and do whatever we got to do to make sure Alex City puts on a great light. And I'll say something about the kids that are part of our men and women. As the reporter you were talking about was alluding to them lined up, he said, "Are these like ambassadors for your school?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Man, this is what they do at colleges." He said, "This is what they do at major D1 schools and in other colleges." And he was just impressed. And that's what you want. I mean, somebody that's never been here, now his impression of Alexander City is, man, have you seen that community down there? They got it going on. And as opposed to the first thing, we've said this on this program a bunch, Randy, the first thing and the only thing a lot of people see, outsiders see on Friday nights or any time in their life about Alex City or any other community is a football field, is the stadium. And you walk in, if it's a dump, that's your impression of the city. Now, that doesn't necessarily correlate that people that have a poor facility, that their community is poor, but you look in and you see a great facility and pride in it. They go, well, man, if they take this much pride in a football stadium, my goodness, this may be a place I want to go and move.
Yeah, it's a very good point, and that's the point I'm trying to make. Athletics, from time to time, when it gets strung into politics and gets strung into talk, it can just become a cost. It's a cost eater at colleges, a cost eater in a lot of different areas, but it is the picture of your community and the way you represent yourself. And I've never been as proud of a group of kids as I am this year. This senior class is special from top to bottom. They've got some top-notch leaders that I don't only expect them to go on and do great things in college. I hope that they go on and start businesses or go run businesses that are currently existing or go into politics and end up being leaders, because several of them have got that special something about them. And that goes to a lot of the raising they're getting, not only at home, which they're getting really good raising at home when you see kids like that, but it points directly. I want to say it points directly to. It should in this community. And I'm talking about athletics. Danny Horn. I think he has brought an aura around him that kind of illuminates the whole program. I'll be honest. I mean, you watch us out there Friday, we're willing to block you up to the whistle. We're willing to play physical, but when it's over, we got a certain way about us that people point to and say, that's a special group of kids. And Danny should be commended for that. I really do believe so.
I totally agree. And you play as you practice, and you play the way the expectations have been set back in the summer. And this is a disciplined football team that requires a lot of self-motivation and discipline in the off season. And when you have to get up and you have to make mandatory workouts in the summer when everybody else and all your friends are going to the lake and they're going off here and they're doing this and sleeping late and all this, these kids that are in the fourth round of the playoffs now that everybody gets to go and enjoy on Friday night and watch on the field, put on a good product, worked their tail off in the summer when everybody else was doing their own thing. And that's the kind of dedication and effort that it takes to be a good football program. And so those kids buy in. And one of the things that Coach Horn always talks to me about, and Kevin Smith and Wes Tate, is how close to 100% their kids are on making their workouts. They think that's a huge goal if they look down the sheet and go, well, we only had one kid on the team miss one workout all summer, and he was excused. And the reason he had to miss it is because he had to go over here, and it was, it would be very easy to sleep in and go, I'll make, and they have makeup dates. So somewhere, if you do miss your assigned workout, then you can go on makeup day. And I think it's Wednesday, if I'm correct, and you can go make your workout up on Wednesday. But the kids know if I miss it, I got to go to makeup. And if I don't, I'm going to run to my tongue hangs out if I want to stay part of this team. And one more story, when we had our Youth League Super Bowl, a couple of weeks ago, several of the football players and were good about coming over and watching our games and being around the kids, and I thought that was good. And I looked over and I saw Trey Edwards and Tyree and Daniel Bland and some of those guys standing around watching. But my wife picked up on something after our game. There were a lot of players, a lot of guys doing stuff, and there was a bunch of people up in the stands eating. Okay, they had brought some food in and were eating. Well, here's Tyree Gray, and he is the eye catcher on this football team. We're going to get to this call here in just a second. I want to finish this point. He's sitting in the stands. Everybody else hops up, and they're leaving the stadium and doing stuff. Tyree Gray goes over and picks up everybody's trash. He took time out. And this is my wife now. I didn't see it, but she did. And that just tells you, kids, that people are watching you on and off the field. Tyree Gray could be walking around acting like I'm Mr. Football and I'm the quarterback and all this kind of stuff. He goes over there and he cleans up the stands. He didn't have to do that. He didn't have to go pick all that trash up and go throw it away. But that's what he's had instilled in him, and that's the kind of person.
Absolutely. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, you're on the Saturday Sports Countdown. Yes, caller, you there with us? Having some technical difficulties. Yeah. Hopefully we'll get that cleared up. 256-234-6221. Brett, we're up against our first break here on Saturday Sports Countdown. We come back, we're going to run down the playoff brackets. We're going to talk a lot about Benjamin Russell High School's big victory last night, 36-13. Yeah, we got you now, Jerome. Is that you?
Hey, okay. Y'all finna go on break? I'll call back.
No. We'll take your call right now, Jerome, then go to break after that.
Okay. I just want to say
the opening segment of Sports
Maybe we'll go on break.
Brought to you by Home Place Mortgage of Auburn and
we'll go ahead and get a break.
The region's best mortgage professionals and rates for all new or refinancing mortgage services. Come to the right place. Sports Blitz is brought to you by Satterfield on Highway 280 in Alex City. Satterfield is the Lake Martin area's big green egg and accessories headquarters. Kowaliga Country 97.5.
Hey guys, where you at?
Welcome back into the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown. Randy Lee alongside Brett Pritchard. 256-234-6221 is our phone number. We'd love to hear from you out there. We're talking high school sports for the first few segments of the program today, and we'll move into college, and we'll talk about whatever you want to up here. Call in, get your prediction in. We got a prediction going this week, I guess.
Yeah, it's Auburn. It's Auburn, Utah. I mean, that tells you how much I'm into it. And I just said it was Utah. I'm glad it's not Utah. How about that? Idaho and total Tigers passing yards. That means because we don't know if it's who's going to be out there throwing it.
Back to the phone lines. Caller, you're on the Saturday Sports Countdown.
Oh, y'all ready for me?
Yeah, we're ready for you, Jerome.
Maybe we are.
I didn't catch that. Hey, I'm sorry about a while ago. I guess it got cut off. I was just talking up the storm, and then all of a sudden I said hello, and then all of a sudden y'all was gone. But anyway, I'm just proud to be a part of this Benjamin Russell, part of being here in Alexander City. You know, I was raised over in Lafayette, Alabama, and they kind of went to the playoffs, but then they got beat the first round. But anyway, what I was wanting to ask y'all, and then I'm gonna hang up and listen to y'all. But if it's some way now that I know we got to go travel, and is it any way possible maybe our boys could to leave maybe that Thursday night, and maybe somehow or another if they could put them up maybe in a motel somewhere down there, and then that way they won't be so tired out for getting up, and they'll probably have to leave about 12 o'clock Friday, and by the time they travel down there, and then you'd be so tired out for riding, and then you got to get prepared to play the game. I mean, you know, I don't know if it's any way possible, but look like the quarterback club could have something, maybe they could put them up, and then that way they can relax, and then they won't be so tired out. That's what I was just trying to see. But I don't know if they could let the high school team do that. But, I mean, you know, but they played a great game, but we're going to have to be careful on them penalties, though. I think there's a lot of stuff last night that I was listening to last night, and that other team was, y'all were saying they were trying to fight. I mean, really, they I mean, that bad sportsmanship. I mean, but, you know, you just got to overlook that. But y'all do a great job, and I'm proud to be a part of Alexander City, and go Wildcats.
Hey, we appreciate the phone call out there, Jerome. Thank you. 256-234-6221 is our phone number, as we are talking about Benjamin Russell and their win over Bessemer City last night. If you're unable to listen in, formerly Jess Lanier. This is a tradition-rich program that's had some very top-notch players go through it. Tommy Lorino, who was such a great running back for Auburn, was one that went through there. They've continued on. Ladarius Owens here recently played there as well. They've had a lot of Alabama players throughout the years also. But our Benjamin Russell team took on a very, very physical football team last night with a good defense and able to put 36 points on the board. I was proud of that, Brett.
Oh, no doubt about it. And the game, it started out as a physical game, and you knew it was going to be a slugfest. I didn't mean that literally, but it literally did become a slugfest, it seemed like. But let's go back to the phone lines. We'll continue this.
Caller, you're on the Saturday Sports Countdown.
Hey, guys, it's Luke. Are you there?
We're good. Good to hear from you, Luke.
I think Jerome went to the James Opelika school of I'm going to say one thing and hang up and listen. He said he asked one question and took 32 minutes, but I think he had a good point. Actually, I wondered the same thing, if it wouldn't hurt to have Benjamin Russell go down there the night before. But, you know, in the grand scheme of things, I think these kids are all, 16, 17, 18 years old. I mean, it's not like you or me or Brett going down there and and driving to Mobile and being a little tired. I think these guys can recover a little more quickly.
Well, St. Paul's 2 years ago did leave the day before, and they stayed in Auburn, and they were able to get up that morning and had gotten permission to go in and use Auburn's practice facility to kind of warm up. And, it does allow you to be more, efficient as far as what you're doing. And when you have to build in that travel day. But the good thing about it is, if there is a positive, is this is Thanksgiving week, and they'll be off, and the practice schedule will be different. They'll go through a light walkthrough, I'm sure, on Thanksgiving morning. As Coach Horn told me this week, and he said after the game last night, it's a coach's dream to always coach on Thanksgiving. And 2 times I've been a part of that, in 2000 and 2001, being able to be up on that hill, go up there, it's just kind of it's just a neat feeling to be able to be practicing. But they'll go through light walkthrough, and they'll probably leave as early as they can on Friday morning to make sure it's an easy trip.
Luke, we still got you there, buddy. Don't have Luke, and we appreciate his phone call. No, Luke was able to make it over for his first game, and he was very impressed last night. Let's talk what Jerome said, though. Penalties is one thing we'll need to correct going into next week. We did have 10 penalties last night, 498 yards. On the opposite side, here in the Outlook, and by the way, pick up an Alexander City Outlook. They do a tremendous job of going out and covering all of these sports. But they had 17 penalties for 197 yards. They've got listed here 8 personal foul penalties. We had an official, and I don't know the official number out there, but we were told upwards of 11 or 12 personal fouls.
I know it was 12 officially, because that last one they got right there at the end of the game. They had a block in the back, and then they had another one that was tacked on. So I think they ended up with 12 total.
Wow. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, you're on the Saturday Sports Countdown.
Hey, guys, it's Luke again. I don't know what happened there, but I wanted to say this. That was my first time to get to see Tyree Gray in person. I got to see the first touchdown he had, where he just maneuvered his way through the entire defense on what may have been a broken play. I don't remember it exactly. I just remember him weaving and bobbing and doing everything he could to get through the entire defense. It was a beautiful thing to watch. If this team can somehow muster up the ability to beat Spanish Fort, and I know that's going to take everything they have. I mean, Spanish Fort, even though they probably aren't playing their best football right now, they're still Spanish Fort. They're the Kings right now, and they've been the top program in whatever classification they've been in of late. But if they can do that and then meet Clay Chalkville, I'm going to say Clay Chalkville, even though they're going to face a tough Austin team. If they can meet Clay Chalkville in Tuscaloosa, can you imagine Ty Pickram taking on Tyree Gray for a state championship? How much fun that'd be?
It's going to be a superstar against a superstar, because Ty Pickram, he knocked me off my feet last year watching him and calling him. He definitely is. Luke, we appreciate the phone call. Up against another break. We'll come back. We'll run down the stats from last night and move down the rest of the playoff brackets. 256-234-6221. More of the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown.
Clear.
This segment of Sports Blitz is brought to you by Satterfield on Highway 280 in Alex City. Satterfield is the Lake Martin area's Big Green Egg and Accessories headquarters.
5 seconds. It's all yours.
Welcome back into the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown. Randy Lee alongside Brett Pritchard this morning. Beautiful downtown Alexander City. We're out here in the middle of the square and Strand Park. We'll have the Turkey Trot Beer Run and Craft Beer Festival. We got a couple of tickets to give away. Each phone call that we have coming in today, I'm going to put your name in the hat and pull one out here at the end. Let us know as you call in if you'd like to be a part of these two free tickets to head out to the Turkey Trot Beer Run and Craft Beer Festival here in Strand Park. Registration will be at 12. At 1 o'clock, they will start the run. So we're really looking forward to it. We got those two up here. We'll write your name down as you come through. And 256-234-6221. It was a tremendous night again by Tyree Gray. I thought Trey Edwards on the defensive side of the football and Tay Robinson played tremendous football the entire game as well. I thought the kicking game was a key part, and I want to go to you on that, Brett. Cole Grogan punting the football, especially on that opening drive. Kneeling them back deep at the 6-yard line. It caused so many problems. They had to go into the wishbone attack. We get them out on 3 plays. They punt it back to us. We have the football at the 35 or 40-yard line. Short field, we're able to take it in and get our first score of the football game. That was a big key of the game. Yeah, it is. And special teams is a part of the game that somehow gets overlooked from time to time, but it really rears its head in close games against good football teams, and the team that usually has the best special teams when all's said and done, if you don't have a lot of turnovers in a game, ends up winning the football game, and that means all 3 phases: kickoffs, punts, and and also your field goals and your scoring opportunities out of that. So you got 3 phases of special teams, and all 3 phases of our special teams right now are outstanding. Our coverages on kickoff and punt returns, our field goals with Sean Rape now, 3 field goals in the last 2 games, a 44, a 43, and a 39 last night. And then Cole Grogan being able to punt it, get good hang time, and be able to over punt the deep guy that's going to return it and usually pin them deep inside their own territory. So all 3 phases clicking right now for us and have been all year. I don't know if there is a school anywhere in the state that has a better special team. I don't believe there are. Sean Rape is 3 for 3 here in the playoff run. He's got kicks of 43, 44, and 39 yards during that stretch, and we got 2 Scud missiles running down on kick coverage. Fred Norris, poor kid last night, got in his way, and he was annihilated. Every time I see 45 go out on the field, the way he runs, he's mad, and he is just active out there. And special teams guys get overlooked a lot, but when you've got those type of guys that run, and Jacob Rogers has turned my head on special teams. He's made so many tackles inside the 20-yard line on the few times that Sean doesn't kick it into the end zone for those kickoffs. Those are always big. Tyree Gray had a huge game. 12 carries, 102 yards. Got him listed for 2 scores here. I'm 99% positive he had 3 touchdown runs last night in the football game. And Maxwell had another 119-yard game on 28 carries. He had 1 more touchdown run. Had a 40-yard touchdown run called back from a false start, I believe, or legal shift. Legal shift for our Wildcats up on the receiving corps, which had nothing to do with the run. But a great job by Maxwell continuing to get those 100-yard games. He's up to 1,600 yards on his junior campaign. That's unbelievable. I mean, you got 2 guys with over 1,600 yards rushing in the backfield, and a quarterback and a tailback, and you got another 1,000-yard rusher from last year. It's over there starting at outside linebacker, Chase Burton, that you can go to. And Coach Horn, he told me this week, he said, Nicole's toted it a lot. He said he's averaging about 30 carries a game. He said that's a lot over time. And he said especially when you go to the playoffs and you have another 5-game season, which we hope we have, he said, man, he's going to amass almost as many carries as he had through 3 quarters of the season this year. So that's an additional carry outside of the 10 games. And he said, don't be surprised if we go do Chase Burton some coming down the stretch here in the 4th and 5th round, and giving him a little bit of a breather here and there, because he is a workhorse, man. And, he's got the stamina, obviously, to do it. But Coach Horn said you don't really realize, you just keep handing him the football and you look over and he's toted it 32, 33 times. Well, I'll give him this. I think he gets stronger as the game goes on. I think that he doesn't lose a step. This kid, I talked about this in the summer. I've watched this kid work out right down the street. I know he works out at the school, but they work out, a group of those juniors work out at Anytime Fitness, and they get after it. Yeah. And they do a tremendous job of making sure that they're prepared once the season starts. And Colby's been that guy that when it gets to 20, 25, 30 carries like last night, that one was called back, but he outran everybody on Bessemer City for that 40-yard touchdown run.
Yeah, he did. And to tote it as many times in a physical game like that, and to be able to do that late in the game tells you a lot. I want to go to another phase of the game that Coach Horn really bragged about in his pregame interview with me last night was our offensive line. He said, I will put our offense – and this – look, you know, the one thing I've learned about being around Coach Horn is the year progresses, Coach Horn's very humble. He's not going to overly sell us on anything, but I have heard the confidence in his voice and his comments the last few weeks about giving our players props and putting he said last week, he said, I'll put our quarterback and our tailback up against anybody. This past week, he said, I'll put our field goal kicker and our punter up against anybody. That was week 1. And then week 3, he said, I'll put our offensive line up against anybody else's offensive line. He said, they're playing tremendous. And we got into that by talking about Tyree and Nicole being able to amass all these yards. And he said, it's because of this offensive line and what Tal Morrison's done with it. And we knew that the left side of the offensive line was shored up with 2 seniors coming in with Anthony Parker and Daniel Bland. And then we had Carter Jones coming in at center. We felt really good about, man, he has just gotten better and better. And then you got Smoot and Alexander over there on the right side. And Randy, they've come in their own. I mean, you think about them getting out there and having to take place and fill in and establish themselves as starters on that offensive line. And they've done a great job. And a lot of times we run to the right side now. A lot of times we find that we're running the football to that side of the field, and it takes a full group up front to be solid.
I'll give this to that right side and the whole front. They haven't missed snaps. Very few snaps have they been out the entire season. And when you get that many snaps under your belt, you're doing something right. You're physical and you're prepared. And I think that's another group of them. Jordan Alexander lives in the gym. I notice it. It's kind of like you said with Tyree, you never know who's seeing. I see what kind of work that him and his family put into getting him out there. And it
means a lot to him.
Well, and it ends up showing on the field on Friday nights. Brett, let's run down the setup here in Class 6A. And when you look at the top side of the bracket, Clay Chalkwell takes down Minor 50-14. No surprise there. They'll take on Austin, who defeated a very good Gardendale team, 53-38. So this is going to be a high-scoring affair. Austin taking on Clay Chalkwell to determine who comes out of the northern half of the bracket there in Class 6A. In the South, it was a shocker last night. Let's talk a little bit about it. Opelika loses to Spanish Fort, 21-13. I think they had 3 or 4 turnovers there in the first half. But we've been to Spanish Fort. They're well coached, Brett. You don't get them out of place too often. And when you got a quarterback in Tyler Johnston, and we'll see him this Friday, who's never lost. He's never lost a football game. There's always a first time for everything. I hope this upcoming Friday is it. But there's a gamer there. And that program, they're gamers. I think we are gamers too, so I expect us to go down there and win. But it was a tough game. Let's talk about it on the other side. I want to talk a little bit more about it. It's a tough loss for Opelika. More of the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown right after this.
Clear.
This segment of Sports Blitz is brought to you by Hyundai of Auburn. You owe it to yourself. Call Hyundai of Auburn today at 334-321-0777 and visit them online at HyundaiofAuburn.com.
It's yours.
Welcome back into the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown. We're live on location at JR Sports Bar and Grill in beautiful downtown Alexander City, where they've got the Turkey Trot Beer Run and Craft Beer Festival over in Strand Park. Registration starting at 12. The run will start at 1, so we hope that you come and be a part of that. We got 2 tickets to give away up here at JR's. If you call in, give us your name, let us know that you're interested in those 2 free tickets. We'll put your name in the hat and draw that out at the end of the program. Can't ask for better corporate partners than JR Sports Bar and Grill, Brett.
Yeah, you can't say it enough. We've said it for over 10 years now, and hope to say it for many, many more years to come, as they are a staple of this community. You want to move over and talk about this Opelika Spanish Fort game last night. We knew it was going to be an epic battle down there. It ended up being an epic battle, and it really boils down to one thing. When you get in the red zone, you got to execute, and Opelika made it down in the red zone numerous times last night, a couple times coming away with nothing, other times having to settle for field goals. And I've said it over and over with Auburn, and Auburn's woes, part of why Auburn doesn't have an identity down there is their red zone woes. They can move the ball up and down the field at times. They get inside the red zone, can't come up with the right play combination to get in the end zone, have to end up kicking field goals, and it ends up costing you. You got to cash in when you're inside the red zone. Now, I know Spanish Fort had their woes last night. They missed 3 field goals, missed 2, and had another botch snap, and they just couldn't get it going either. Very fortunate because they didn't play very well. Their game plan was to keep the ball out of Jake Bentley's hands, so they slowed the game down or sped it up, however you want to look at it. They sped it up by keeping the ball and trying to grind out and waste time, and they were able to get a touchdown late from 5 yards out on a 3rd down and goal. Opelika had forced them 3 times to settle for some type of field goal attempt, and that time Tyler Johnson was able to hit that pass, go up 21-13.
He rolls the pocket out to the right, Brett. I just wanted to say it was kind of a tight end where he ends up on the backside of the end zone.
Lutzenkirchen play.
Yeah, they roll the pocket to the right and look back across the way, and we're sitting there watching it because it looked like physically up front Spanish Fort wasn't going to knock that one in from 5 yards, and that was the game winner.
Well, exactly right. They had to come up with some type of play to get the flow going in one direction and then come back. It's a good play call by Ben Blackman, the brother of Brian Blackman. They're 2 brothers there coaching against one another. I know I saw Ben's quote after the game. He said, look, man, he said, I'll be honest with you, and as a sibling, you can – this is heartfelt. He said, I got mixed feelings right now. He said, man, I'm glad we won. We put a lot of effort in. I love our kids, but he said, man, I hurt for my brother.
And he hurts for Opelika's program, too, because both of those guys, Ben being part of that, Spence McCracken being both of their head coaches in high school. Ben went on to have the successful college career at quarterback.
That's right.
After leaving Robert E. Lee after they won a state championship while he was the coach there, or excuse me, the quarterback there at Robert E. Lee.
Sure.
So, you know, it is heartfelt. And that's where our story is right here on this segment. Opelika, to me, there's a lot of great communities out there in high school football, and we're definitely one of the top. Opelika's right there with us, though, buddy. They traveled, from what I heard, they had the bleachers like we did, completely packed with Opelika fans. They travel as well as we do.
Oh, yeah.
I can't name many other programs at all that do. I'm not sure I can name one other one at all that travels as good as our 2 programs do right here.
I promise you they had more fans in Spanish Fort.
You feel hard. It's a heartfelt loss. I know they're our rival, but I just feel for them, don't you?
You just can't get over the hump for whatever reason. And, you know, they've been to a state championship game here in the last few years, which getting over that hurdle in itself was great for their program, but they faced a team in Hoover, maybe one of the best teams Hoover's ever had in that championship game. And, you know, they did a great job of bringing a record crowd to Jordan-Hare Stadium for a high school football game. But it just seems like for whatever reason, deep in playoff runs, whether it been Daphne in years past or now here with Spanish Fort on the road in a game that everybody felt like Opelika was a clear favorite. But the outlier of that was going to that environment that we're going to have to go to next week where nobody hardly ever comes out alive. I mean, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Saraland. I don't care if you're Blunt. They're rivals down there. I mean, there's nobody goes in there and wins. And it's a lot of great teams go into that facility and they come out walking with their heads down. We've done it twice It doesn't feel good. And we're going to have to go down there and hopefully break something that nobody else has been able to do and try to solve the riddle of going to the hill, as they call it, at Spanish Fort and coming out with a win.
Got a couple more minutes on this segment. I want to talk about how I think we can do it, and we will do it. I feel great about this group. I think when you look at the lines of scrimmage, it's going to be where it's won. The previous 2 times we had great lines of scrimmage. We had some great football teams. But when we went down there, if there's one part of the ball game that I felt like they won the game with, it was those lines of scrimmage. So I think personally this is the best group we've had. Defensive line, offensive line, top-notch players that can make plays. I feel like this is a special group. I think that's where we can win the football game, Brett.
I'll go and echo what you just said and give you some more fuel to back up your thought process there. Is Opelika had to go down there and basically shoot themselves in the foot or blow it off, and they did. I mean, I tip my hat to Spanish Fort, good football team, but Opelika got down there on the goal line, went forward, and gained points. Okay, Jake Bentley has been superb all year. He threw an interception. They turned the football over, had a botched punt. Spanish Fort scored on that. I mean, it was mistake after mistake after mistake, and Spanish Fort still only managed to put 21 points on the board, and they held on for dear life. And Opelika turned the ball over 3 or 4 times and missed opportunities and went for it and didn't get it and all this. So, you know, you hope when you get to the 4th round of the playoffs, you don't play your worst game of the year, and Opelika did. I mean, there's no other way to look at it. And, you know, stats are stats and facts are facts. And Opelika has played superbly all year, and they're probably still maybe the best football team top to bottom in Class 6A, but they're not going to have a shot to play for it because they played bad. Coach Horn has stressed and talked about playing your best football in the playoffs. And that's how you get a team like Bessemer City that got hot. They got on a run. You can tell they had momentum. Hard team to put out. Can't make mistakes. If we go down there and hold on to the football like we've been doing, Randy, play good special teams, force them to have to drive the field, I love our chances. I think we're the favorite if we do that and we continue to play the way we played. You can't turn the football over. You got to get rid of some of those penalties, because those drive-killing penalties, whether it be 5-yard or 10-yard variety, you make a big play and they drop a flag for a hold or an illegal shift or some kind of lack of concentration, it can kill a drive.
You know, we got to prepare, and I think we will. We know that's the reason I love that we're going back down there. We've been there 3 out of 4 years. If the kids can't get up for this, you can't get up.
No.
But you got to go down there confident, and I've got the utmost confidence in this group to go down there and win this football game. And you can't go down there thinking you're behind before you get there in some of these games. And with Spanish Fort, Brett, I love the matchup. I'll say that.
I love that we match up better, I believe.
We've got the one other thing before I take this call that I think is going to be of uber importance. Yes, can we put pressure on the quarterback, but we've got to defend the pass. Tyler Johnston special, and their passing game has been what's killed us offensively the last couple of times we've been down there. We got to come up with a scheme that can slow that passing game down. Caller, you on the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown?
Yes. Hello.
Yeah, we're glad to have you. Yeah, you're on the air with us.
Okay. I just like to remember what you were talking about the ball game last night. And I was just talking about what this team did and what that team did. I sit there and been watching football a long time, and I seen some calls that were made last night that was not necessary. Out of all the referees on that field, it was about 3 or 4 referees, 2 or 3 only one throw the flag. Now, both teams played good ball, but the referees interrupted the football game.
Well, that's a great call, and Brett, we appreciate it this morning, and heard that a lot. You know, when you get in a game where it's tough to control, I thought they tried to bring the kids together 2 different times. I'll commend them for that, and tried to get some kind of resolution set with the kids that I'm going to start slinging flags, but it just never really cleaned it up at all.
At some point in time, you got to get somebody out of the game, and they tried their best to not throw a guy out in a third-round playoff game. They brought huddles together twice. But at some point in time, with about 4 minutes to go in that game, when it got chippy again, somebody had to go, and they didn't do it.
256-234-6221. We'll take your phone calls on the other side, run down the remainder of the bracket, and we'll talk about it. We're thrilled. We're heading down to Spanish Fort for the semifinals next week. We could talk Auburn and Idaho if you want to. We're more than willing to do that. But if you want to talk about what football I'm interested in right now. It's right here in this community. More of the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown right after this.
Clear. It's all yours.
Welcome back into the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown, live on location at JR Sports Bar and Grill. 256-234-6221 is our phone number. Turkey Trot and Beer Run and Craft Beer Festival over in Strand Park. Registration at 12. 1 o'clock will be the run. We've got 2 free tickets to give away up here as part of our program. So just call in. Let us know your thoughts on the games last night, your thoughts on the games coming up today. Let us know that you're interested in putting your name in the hat for this Turkey Trot Beer Run and Craft Beer Festival at Strand Park, and we'll continue to talk along and pull that name out of the hat as we close out. Brett, we ran down Class 6A, thrilled about Benjamin Russell High School heading down to Spanish Fort next week. We'll talk about that. In Class 7A, we had a shocker a little bit to me. I knew that Spain Park defeated Hoover to start it off the season about midway through. 17-0 was that score. But if you'd have told me Spain Park would have got over the hump here in the semifinals, I don't know that I would have believed you. They score late in the third, I believe, and hold on to win that football game. Spain Park takes down Hoover 7-6.
Josh Nilbett's run over, making an appearance in the state championship game, and he was 1 point away. And Spain Park, a school that had to get the monkey off their back, had never beaten a program that they split off from. You know, that school split from Hoover, and part of the Hoover City school system, and I believe they played 11 or 13 times and never had won. Somewhere in that neighborhood, but anyway, they beat them in the regular season 17-0. And you hear that old adage: it's hard to beat the same team twice in a year. It is. It's hard to beat the same team twice in a year, but Spain Park did it, and they dug deep to scrap out one touchdown against a great Hoover defensive football team, and they move on. They'll play McGill-Tulane, who knocked Jamie Dubose and the Red Devils out again this year. McGill-Tulane pulls it out 26-21, and it will be two new teams in that 7A championship game. A Spain Park team and a McGill-Tulane team will take on one another. We'll go down to the 5A bracket, and we'll run those down. It'll be St. Paul's at Jackson. Beauregard team is a tough night for Lee County as Beauregard had the lead late. Jackson is a tremendous football team, and everybody said the Class 5A championship would have to go through Jackson, Alabama, and it will as they move on into the semifinals and play St. Paul's, who's the defending 5A champion. Man, you want to talk about an epic battle there as St. Paul's went to Demopolis last night and beat them 35-13, and they'll take on the winner of the Mortimer-Jordan-Alexandria game. So that will be a very interesting game as well. We'll move down into 4A, and Munford just continues to find ways to win. They defeat Andalusia 33-31, the team that defeated Dayville the previous week. And if you look at Munford, they take on Leeds. Leeds has 2 losses, one of them to, drum roll please, Munford by 1 point earlier in the season. So Leeds and Munford rematch. Munford with a 1-point win over them, 43-42 earlier in the year. So expect another hard-fought game, but Leeds is so accustomed to doing what they got to do to make it to a championship game. Keith Etheridge, tremendous coach, and that'll be a classic game. They'll take on the winner of the Fayette County Cordova game. Cordova sits at 13-0. They defeated Hamilton 30-20 last night. So that's 4A there, and we'll move down to 3A.
Yeah, moving down to 3A, and congratulations to Phil Lazenby. Such a tremendous coach here, and left an impression, I think, on this program, along with a lot of great coaches that we've had. But Lazenby had some great coaches with him during that stretch. Several of them head down south with him, and he ends up at Bayside Academy, and they take down Ben Davis. The top-ranked recruit here in the state of Alabama, plays for Gordo. Bayside Academy defeat them last night 17-14. So we still consider Coach Lazenby one of our own, and for him to pick up that win, he actually, every time we go to Spanish Fort, he's in the bleachers on our sideline. He's like he's still continues to be like many of our coaches, Benjamin Russell High School fans, and he won't be able to do that next Friday as they'll still be playing in the semifinal round. Colbert County defeats Lauderdale County 29-20. Hillcrest Evergreen takes down T.R. Miller 25-22.
That's a big win for Hillcrest, man.
Here's the one. If the Spanish Fort and Opelika game wasn't the biggest one last night, this one was in Class 3A. Piedmont takes down Madison Academy 35-21 and knocks Madison Academy off their reign of state championships. I think they had 3 in a row before last night.
They did, but unfortunate injuries. Austin Troxell out, Malik Miller out. Carryon Johnson goes to Auburn this past year. Man, I mean, you can talk about, man, we're a private school and we got all these great players, and they do have great players, but there's only so many blows you can take, and you lose a Malik Miller off that team, and you lose a tackle as big as Austin Troxell and as good as he is, and you graduate somebody like Carryon Johnson. Man, the road gets tough.
This is a Piedmont program that's not intimidated by Madison Academy, though, no matter who's on that side. They lose by a few touchdowns last year, but 2 years ago, if you remember, in Carryon Johnson's junior year, they lose 34-33 late in that football game in the semifinals, and it was a heartbreaker for Piedmont. And Piedmont's been in state championship games. They've won one, what, about 5 years ago, Brett?
Well, the very first year we called state championship games, they were in it. So I think they may have made another appearance since then, but they've got a great program up there too. Justin Clayton went up there and did a piece on them on a thing that we do for the HSAA, and he went to their facilities. He saw, man, a lot of pride in that place too, man.
He was taken back by him.
He was, man, just blown away by how well kept everything and how new it was. And again, that's Justin Clayton's first time to ever go to Piedmont, Alabama. And you know what he's telling everybody? That place is awesome. Just like the reporter from Birmingham last night. You know what he's telling everybody in Birmingham today? is how great Alexander City is. And he probably didn't go anywhere but Charles E. Bailey Sportsplex and got back on 280 and went north. But that's the impression. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I go to a lot of places. I've been to a lot of places over the last 15, 18 years calling football games. And I walk back, and it has nothing to do with their community, but the only thing I saw was their football stadium. And what have I said to people? Man, that place is a dump. Good Lord have mercy. I was afraid we were going to fall through the press box. You know, floor was rotting, ceiling was falling in. There's been plenty of places you said, I am not going up there on top of that roof. I'm not going to fall off. And I mean, so you don't have to worry about climbing up on a roof at the Sportsplex. That's a good thing.
Class 3A will finish out, and then we'll come back with 2A and 1A to close out the first hour. Hillcrest Evergreen 8-5 is at Bayside Academy in the semifinals in Class 3A, and then Piedmont 12-1 will be at Colbert County 10-3. That's a great classification. Looking forward to that. Brett and myself will be over with the AHSA Radio Network here in a couple of weeks, presenting the state championship games throughout the state of Alabama. We're looking forward to that. More of the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown right after this.
Clear.
Lumber, building materials, electrical, and plumbing supplies. Russell Do-It Center stores deliver first-class service, top-rate products, and competitive do-it-best pricing.
5 seconds, y'all are live.
Welcome back into the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown, live on location at JR Sports Bar and Grill. Brett, it doesn't get prettier than it is today. It's not steaming hot, but it'll probably be, 65, 70 degrees. We've got a turkey trot, beer run, and craft beer festival going on in Strand Park. Want to commend the community for putting on programs like this and events like this that so many people, you just look out there and somebody else is doing something, Brett. It's a wonderful time to be part of the Lake Martin and Alexander City community right now, and JR Sports Bar and Grill right here in the middle of all of it. It's a hub for most of what's going on, so we're excited to be up here with our program. Let's finish out Class 2A. GW Long will be taking on Elba. GW Long is 12-0. Elba is 12-1 in that one. Fife defeats last night. I think they took down Randolph County last night, so Fife – Randolph County was able to hold on. Did I miss that one?
Yeah, Randolph County beat Cleveland 49-28. So I'm telling you, man. Ooh, I saw look, I had an opportunity to go up to Randolph County about 4 weeks ago, maybe a little bit longer than that, maybe 5 or 6. But anyway, at a college fair, and they walked in, and I went, good Lord. And so one came over and talked to a bunch of those guys, and they got a running back up there, man. That joker is a physical specimen. And they got a linebacker that walked in the room. I said, well, he's got to be pretty good. And then some big old offensive lineman walked in. I said, he probably plays on the line somewhere. And so I went up and talked to all of them, man, real nice kids. And they are, you can tell off the hoof, man. Now, you can take a bunch of guys that look good, but that doesn't mean they play good, because we've seen that happen in the past. But these guys look good and they play good, and they're 13-0 for a reason. And they took down a very good team that knocked out Reeltown. And just think about that. Reeltown had Cleveland beaten. Cleveland had beaten everybody all year. We're undefeated. Knocked off that Fife team that you just talked about.
Yeah, Fife's actually taking on Randolph County next week.
So there you go. So it could have been easily a matchup there, but that just kind of tells you the inner workings there. Reeltown had a chance to win that game. Could be Reeltown playing at Randolph County this coming up week. But nevertheless, two good football teams there in the semifinals in 2A.
Class 1A, those matchups will be Linden 10-2 as they destroy Brantley last night, 41-0. Linden will take on Maplesville, who is 11-1. They took down Georgiana 36-28 last night. Tough loss here in the local area. Wadley goes down to a Cedar Bluff program that's great in every sport, much like Wadley's had their long run as well. But Cedar Bluff, we see them in basketball tournaments all the time. They've got great athletes. They defeat Wadley last night 34-27.
Yeah, tough loss. Haley Kilcrease is a friend of mine. Her husband is the basketball coach at Brantley, both boys and girls. And great family. She works at Huntington. She sent a good luck to me yesterday for Benjamin Russell, and I always send one back as far as Brantley goes. They're just not meant to be this year for the Bulldogs down there, but a great program as Linden gets the best of them 41-0, as you just mentioned. But again, two teams, you look at Maplesville, man, they have just had something going for a long time over there in Chilton County, Alabama.
256-234-6221 is our phone number. AISA State Championship games I think these actually happened this week on Thursday.
They did.
Abbeville Christian 42, Chambers Academy 14, Bessemer Academy 34, Monroe Academy 6, and this was a shocker. Edgewood Academy gets over the hump and defeats Marengo. Not getting over the hump. They kept the hump going. 40-34 over Marengo Academy. Just how close the score was is the shocking thing.
Finally, a game. Somebody stood up and said, hey, we're going to play these guys. And, tip your hat to Edgewood Academy for maintaining the string of wins that they've had. And they got great talent down there. And a lot of people have scoffed at them being in the second classification out of 3 in AISA and in the run they've been in. But, look, it doesn't matter what level you're playing in. You would think at some point in time you'd have a hiccup. They haven't had any hiccups.
They definitely haven't. 256-234-6221. Looking forward to talking to you today. We talked a lot of high school sports. Brett, as we move into the college game and take your phone calls, we look up at the television. You got North Carolina taking on Virginia Tech right now. Beamer I don't know if this is his last home game.
This is it. Yep.
So he's taking on a powerful North Carolina team, and tip your hat to that coaching staff along with Gene Chiswick on the defensive side of the ball. If they hold suit, they go to the ACC championship game. They take down Clemson. Don't be surprised if North Carolina's not in that Final Four.
Why wouldn't they be? I mean, they lost the very first game of the year on the road at South Carolina in a horrible game. Okay, neither team played good at all. That game was on a Thursday night, and after you came out of that game, would you have thought, now South Carolina hadn't played good at all this year, but North Carolina lost that game. Would you have thought either one of those teams would have moved on to do anything? Well, North Carolina hadn't lost since, and they played extremely well. The defense is one of the top defenses in the country. They were ranked 90th last year, 90th, and they're in the top 15. Gene Chiswick's done a great job as a defense coordinator. So let me go back and preface. I know we've all been hard on Gene Chiswick, but Gene Chiswick's got one responsibility. That's to coach defense over there. He doesn't have to be a manager of a team. He doesn't have to get things lined up on a weekly basis and who does this and who does that. He's not very good at that. He's proven that. Okay, he got lightning in a ball in 2010, won a national championship. He was terrible at Iowa State, and for the most part, he was terrible at Auburn. Okay, outside of 1 year. So he's a great defense coordinator, and that's where he finds his home in North Carolina. He can do that. It's a whole different ball game. And being a defensive coordinator and being a head coach, it has to run a program like a multi-million-dollar Fortune 500 business like an SEC school is. So some can do it, some can. He obviously couldn't handle it, but he's doing it at North Carolina on the defense side of the ball, and I don't know why. If they knock off the number one team in the country in Clemson in a couple of weeks in an ACC championship game, how you could keep them out.
Let's start off talking about the college game here in the state of Alabama, and let's talk about Alabama. And, Brett, you and I are two Auburn fans sitting up here, but I got to tip my hat to him. Nick Saban, we know he's got a program, but the more this thing moves on and the more that they're able to roll one quarterback in after another, that you go into the season and go, I think that this could be their down year. I think they could lose 3 or 4 games, but they have an identity about themselves, and defensively, the way that I see it in today's game, that defensive front, that front seven that you see for Alabama could be one of their tops, and that's saying a mouthful.
Yeah, well, just don't repeat every year. I mean, we say this every year. This defensive front can be the best one we've ever seen. And next year, this defensive front can be the best one we've ever seen.
This one puts pressure back on the quarterback, and they seem like they've got more top-tier NFL-type talent. Because if you look in the NFL now, do you name a defensive line player from Alabama that's a top-notch player?
Yeah.
You can't. I'm saying that I can't think of many. Right now, I can look at that defensive line, and I say 4 or 5 NFL players on that defensive line.
Yeah. But I just go back to 10, 11, 12, and 9. We just continue this discussion. And the reason we have that discussion over and over is because of the work ethic and what they expect out of that defensive unit and what they get out of them. You just plug another guy in, okay? Hey, this guy was a great guy last year. He's gone. Who's going to step up for him? They just plug him in.
256-234-6221 is our phone number. We'll continue that discussion on the other side and move on into Auburn. Our question of the day will be, your biggest concern for this Auburn football program moving forward or currently? You don't have one, call in with that. We hadn't heard that all week. 256-234-6221. More of the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown right after this.
You're clear.
Reliability. Your comfort is our number one concern. Advanced Heat and Air.
This segment of Sports Blitz is brought to you by Bice Motors in Alexander City. Brian and his crew offer the latest lines of Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, and Ram vehicles, as well as the best used inventory around. Guaranteed lowest price. Bice.
Y'all are live.
Welcome back into the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown, live on location at JR Sports Bar and Grill. We'll take your phone calls at 256-234-6221. Call in your prediction. Today's Auburn and Idaho. Passing yards for Auburn will be the tiebreaker. Also got 2 tickets to the Turkey Trot Beer Run and Craft Beer Festival that will be going on in Strand Park. 12 o'clock will be the registration. 1 o'clock will be the run. So go ahead and call in. Let us know that you're interested in those, and we'll put your name in the hat and draw those out here at the end of the program. Brett, we're talking about Alabama, and it's been a good stretch of play. It's hard to talk about Alabama without talking about the woes for LSU, because those two teams have really matched up in the West to be the rivals for moving on. Now, Auburn's had their little stretch 2 times, but for the most part, both of those teams have had a solid stretch of run where whoever wins that ball game is a good chance they're going to win the West. And Les Miles, if you read or you like to read what you hear out there, it sounds like he's on the hot seat.
Well, he ought to be, because he ain't beaten Alabama in 5 straight. All right, so if you're going to be a rival and you're going to try to pit this as the game in the West, I mean, Auburn's beaten Alabama more than LSU has in the last 5 meetings. All right, so I know they have tried to build them up, but the problem with LSU is they're one-dimensional, and they've been one-dimensional for a long time. And the problem they've had in this stretch is they've had no quarterback play at all, none. You know, Auburn's had 2 good quarterbacks in that stretch, Cam Newton, Nick Marshall. And the reason, when you have good quarterback play, you like your chances against anybody. And that Alabama game 2 years ago at Jordan-Hare Stadium was a heavyweight fight. Both teams trading punches. They were even. And it took some kind of crazy play at the end to win the ball game, or else it was going to overtime. So, you know, Alabama played great that night. This didn't work out. They played, you know, in 2009. We had another heavyweight fight against Alabama. They won it on the last drive in a game where we were much inferior talent-wise than they. They brought a great football team into Jordan-Hare in 2009, and we had to lead the whole game pretty much. And LSU, I'm telling you, man, I know we've laid eggs against them and just been horrible, this year being one of them, but we beat them 41-7 last year, and that was basically the same team. I don't know what happened this year. I don't think anybody has the answers for what's happening with Auburn this year. I think everybody's trying to figure that out, but he's lost 2 in a row. Les Miles has lost 2 in a row to Arkansas now. He's lost 5 in a row to Alabama. He got killed by Auburn last year. You tell me. I mean, in the Western Division where everybody continues to try to put them up there, and you know Gary Harris, the show me and you've been on up in Tuscaloosa. I was on yesterday again. And it's like Gary said, we're in a what have you done for me lately society. He's done a great job. He holds the most wins of any LSU coach in school history, but nobody cares about that anymore, because when he matches up against Alabama or an Auburn on the road or Texas A&M or whatever, and Arkansas now where Brett Bielema's not getting it done.
Well, the same question keeps coming up that we've presented the last couple of weeks. Then I'll present it to you today because you and I haven't been on air with each other. Auburn, since 2008, is 30-34 in SEC play.
Not acceptable.
And between 2000 and 2007, during the Tommy Tuberville reign, we were 44-17 during that same stretch. Now, we only won the SEC title once. We never played for a national championship. Auburn has caught lightning in the bottle twice since 2008, won a national title, played for another 2 SEC championships. It still doesn't feel like you got a program that you can win with year in and year out. And when you're 30-34, since you go to the spread or the hurry-up attack that we've gone to, what do you want, Brett? Because you're bringing up the same point that Gary Harris brought up to you. It's a what have you done for me lately? And when what you've done for me lately, 6-6, which is what we're going to look dead in the eye this year for Auburn, what are your feelings about the program?
Well, are we a hurry-up, no huddle? Are we?
I don't
okay,
know
well, I
we
mean,
are now.
there's the point. We don't have any identity. You don't pick a style and go with it. You know, you like a fish out of water. You flip over here, you flop over here, and then you flip back over here. The Georgia game was a perfect example of it. We had a game plan that was working. We went away from it. I mean, does Gus Malzahn just get to a point in the game where he doesn't have any confidence in his game plan anymore? I mean, we all know who's going to be the fall guy here. Rhett Lashley's going to be gone after this year. I mean, somebody's got to suffer the consequences for another maligned year where you had high expectations, and usually it's a coordinator. And I know Rhett Lashley's offensive coordinator, and Gus Malzahn has a lot to do with that. But Rhett Lashley's ultimately responsible because that's his job. It's what he gets paid for. So we don't have an identity. And that's what if you don't have an identity, you can't establish anything. LSU's tried to have an identity. It doesn't work, okay, because they don't have a quarterback. They can't threaten you at all passing. You know, if you can't stop Leonard Fournette, they're just going to pound your brains out. That's what they did to us because we couldn't stop them. First play of the game went for 75 against us. Everybody in the world knew he was going to get the football up the middle. Still didn't stop him. So when they can do that, why throw it? You know, it's almost like what we did against Saraland. Randy, we dominated them so bad, we only threw one pass. And Coach Horn said, why would we throw when we can just keep doing this and amass 400 yards offense on the ground? But when somebody like an Alabama steps up and Leonard Fournette goes for 16 yards and you have no quarterback that's even a remote threat to throw it down the field, then you're in trouble. And you're in trouble getting your tail whipped pretty bad. And that's what Auburn has. Auburn has a quarterback situation. We can't throw it down the field. He's either scared to throw it because he's scared to make a mistake or they're holding him back. They've got him the reins on him. They won't let him throw it. So I don't know, Randy. I mean, got to get an identity on offense before you can do anything. Got to get a quarterback that's consistent. That's why we are who we are right now.
Let me tell you what I've been impressed with also. The defense gets a lot of the acclaim for Alabama, but one of the things I'm most impressed with them on, Brett, is their receiving core. They continue to create threats down the field. Now, Amari Cooper, he was special, but not just him. I watch this year, and I see a number of guys that just –
Calvin Ridley.
They look like as the season's moving on, though, they turn into playmakers.
They do.
And they have a quarterback that he's not a pro, I don't think. I mean, he's been good. But you got to tip your hat to Lane Kiffin. You got to tip your hat to this receiving coach and the offensive coaching staff in general.
Player development.
They do a great job with it, and it's hard to fight anymore.
Player development. I mean, like you said, Calvin Ridley, beginning of the year, I mean, he wasn't out there catching 8, 9, 10 passes a game, can now. You know, and everybody knew he was a great talent. So you bring a 5-star guy in, and he evolves into his potential. We bring a 5-star guy in right now, and he just kind of, he's still on the team. He's out there still? Oh, okay. And then he comes in, makes a play, and then he goes missing for 3 quarters. I mean, that's the thing that scratches your head. There's a lot of uncertainty. Everybody's not on the same page, and you can't be a consistent football program. 30 and 34 is unacceptable at Auburn. It is. And I'm hesitant to say that we caught lightning in a bottle in 10 and 13 because when we do put everything together, we do have good players in good positions, we win. And only good programs can go from the bottom to the top in a year. I mean, that tells you that your program's a good program. But why do we have those fall-offs? Why do we have the in-between years? You know, it's funny. We joke about it, but a lot of people come up to me this year and said, don't worry. This year's a waste. But next year, Auburn will play for a national championship. They'll have a junior college quarterback
we heard that coming in this year.
Yeah, we did. But the difference is we'll have the recipe for Gus Malzahn's success has been getting a guy that already can play.
Let me, all right, and I'm going to close out this segment and say that. If the recipe for success is to bring a JUCO guy in that doesn't even start at quarterback at his junior college, and we're hanging our hat on that, Brett, when we brought Cam Newton in, buddy, he started. He took his team to a national championship in junior college at quarterback, and he was the main reason. We got a guy that's a 10-200 guy. He's a tremendous athlete. I think he's a good get for us. He don't start. He don't start for his junior college team at quarterback. I got to hear something better than that. 256-234-6221. More of the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown.
Clear.
by Dark Insurance, offering insurance for all your personal needs, including auto, boat, homeowners, and disability. Don't be in the dark. Call Dark Insurance at 256-234-5026.
Y'all are live.
Well, welcome back into the Saturday Sports Countdown. Brett Pritchard and Randy Lee here this morning. It's a beautiful day outside in downtown Alexander City at Strand Park. Today they will have the Turkey Trot Beer Run and Craft Beer Festival here in downtown Alexander City. We got 2 free tickets to give away. Call in, let us know that you're interested in those. Put your name in the hat here in the next half hour of the program. Pull a name out and let you know that you won to be a part of that. We've heard upwards of 400 participants already registered to be in this, and a lot of those I'm sure from out of town because kind of travel around. This is one of those events that you see people travel around to like to be a part of.
You're exactly right. Why have I not signed up for this yet? But anyway, go back. I kind of sounded like Scott Hardy there, didn't I? That was scary. But anyway, I want to pose a question to you. What would Auburn's record be right now after 10 football games? Or after 10 football games going into game 11 with Nick Marshall at quarterback this year?
Well, we'd have been run out of the gym at LSU, period. We couldn't have stopped him. And Brady had 200. First off, Nick Marshall couldn't make a tackle. He never has.
Well, we would have scored with him.
Leonard Fournette had 220 yards rushing in the first half.
We would have scored with him.
The first half.
We would have scored with him. And let me tell you another thing. The part of the downtrodden part of that defense, we stayed on the field the whole game. We're 3 and out. You know, that's part of it. I'm just telling you to be realistic about it. Nick Marshall would have scored with them.
I think here in the latter half of the season, Auburn has gotten a semblance of a defense. But through 8 ball games, we're 100, 110.
We got run out of the gym at LSU. What would our record be?
I don't know. Probably lost 2 or 3 games would be my guess. But that's what you got last year. We went 8-5. You looked at the overall stats for the offense. It was outstanding. Even in the bowl game against Wisconsin, we were great offensively. Terrible on defense. We were terrible on defense the first part of this year. We're getting better, Brett, but we'll see next week if we've gotten a lot better. I'm not completely bought into this defense. 3 weeks ago, we gave up 560 yards offense at home.
I get it. I understand that.
We have had a couple of weeks that's looked better. We've got a terrible football team coming into Jordan-Hare today that's 3-7 in Idaho. If we don't look great there, but at least there's some hope. I don't see any quit on that side of the football right now. Offensively, I just don't see any identity, but I don't see quit. So I'll give that to Muschamp up to this point.
Well, I'm going to go back again and say, what is our record with Nick Marshall or an athletic quarterback that can run the ball? It's a dual threat. We've lost every game other than LSU by, and I'm not making excuses. I'm saying that this is it would be smoke and mirrors. That's how close you are to being probably 8-1, 9-1, 8-2, something like that. With a quarterback, and everybody be going, well, then this team's got good opportunity to do this and that. And we lost by a touchdown to everybody else with a heart. We've been bad. Bad.
Do you see any? All right. Well, I'm gonna.
Don't you think our receivers get better with him back there?
You know, what ifs are fun to do in football, but it's a huge what if when you're looking at Auburn right now because there's nobody on the roster that I look at and say next year he's going to be the guy. Next year we're changing it. Who do you point to?
The 2 years that we've been successful in the last 4, we didn't have on the roster the year before. Cam Newton and Nick Marshall.
Well, with the current commits, who gives you a good warm fuzzy that
I don't know right now. I don't know right now. I mean, that's the thing. Nick Marshall started his career as a defensive back at Georgia. I mean, nobody saw he wasn't going to play quarterback at Georgia. And then he goes to junior college, and Auburn recruits him, and he fits into a system. My point is that Gus Malzahn has to have somebody run the football back there at quarterback. He doesn't have to be a prolific passer. Nick Marshall, he throw about 60% completion rate, which is not great in college, and he'd miss that one pass, man. You'd be like, golly, he's wide open, and then he'd come back and make an unreal throw. But it's the threat of him being an extra runner back there. And it didn't work as well last year as it did the year before in 2013 because we didn't have Jay Prosh back there blocking. We didn't have Greg Robinson on the front line. You know, I know you got to have those pieces, but, man, it's amazing how one player in this kind of offense can make that offense go from a 5-5 team right now to maybe an 8-2 3 or something like that. I'm not saying it's much better, but it'd be better.
256-234-6221. Your thoughts, your biggest concerns for Auburn's football program moving forward is our question of the day. We've filled the phone lines up all week on Sports Call with that question. We'd love to hear from you. If you have no concerns, you feel like we're moving in the right direction, I'll read out a few of them that we've heard this week. Rhett Lashley's been number one. Our coaches in general. Damian Craig's been 1A with his development of receivers. We don't have any. We've got a few that'll show up from time to time, but we drop balls constantly. So Damian Craig has been thrown out there a lot. Clearly, the offensive side of the football is the one that the most concerned. That's shocking after 3 or 4 weeks. Previous, I think that it would have been the defense that would have been the biggest concern. But no, it's been the offense that we've heard from the most part. And just no identity has been the next one. I'm not feeling the identity. And Brett, you've said it, and I'll say it too. The thing about Alabama is they have an identity. They built a program. They can replace players. It's next guy up. It's that mentality. It's leadership. Tip your hat, Nick Saban. He's got a lot to do with it. I think leadership, to be honest, is where I start with. I think we lack it. I like Malzahn. I want to be on his side. I really do. I'm not off the Gus bus per se. But when I'm watching it, we just don't look like we got it from top to bottom. I don't know if that's in the athletic department. I don't know if it's with just the coaching staff. But do you sense the same? I mean, I can come up here next summer and do 4 months worth of programming with you and Luke, and I can do the same thing that I did this summer. We can all build this Auburn program up to they're going to catch lightning in a bottle next year, and they're going to go and play for a national championship. We can do that. They did it this past year. Went 8-5, got Jeremy Johnson coming back. He's he's promoted as the SEC quarterback, potential Heisman candidate. But with leadership and watching what I see out there year to year, I don't have a lot of confidence right now.
Duke Williams, obviously that issue in itself is kind of a microcosm of what you're talking about.
Leadership.
He's supposed to be a guy that's coming back, and that never got situated, and he ends up getting kicked off the team. And again, I don't want anybody to confuse me by making a comment and saying what I said a minute ago about having a dual threat quarterback. I just think that's how quickly you can go from being a not so good team to a pretty good football team and at that position. But the problem is that player. My whole deal is, and which goes back to coaching, is player development. Obviously, why have you not developed Jeremy Johnson into being the quarterback? And then why'd you recruit him if he didn't fit your style? If he can't run the ball and you need a dual threat quarterback, then why did we go after him? Why? So look, I know we're getting a top-notch recruit, like you said, doesn't start for his junior college team, and I'm not too sure he's going to play quarterback at Auburn. I mean, I don't know that. I don't know what Gus Malzahn and them are still looking at as far as going out and trying to find somebody. I think they have a need there to get somebody that's a dual threat in there at quarterback. They know that's a very urgent part of their game.
We'll run down today's schedule, give some thoughts on the Final Four, what it's looking like. SEC championship game is staring Alabama and Florida dead in the eye. That'll be a no game. It should be a no game right there, and Alabama will jump right on in that Final Four again this year, and looking good after that one loss to Ole Miss earlier in the season. More of the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown right after this.
Clear.
www.medicineshop.com or call them at 256-215-8014. The Medicine Shop, caring beyond prescriptions.
You're live.
Welcome back into the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown. Got about 20 more minutes left here on the program. Again, we got 2 tickets to give away for the Turkey Trot Beer Run and Craft Beer Festival going on in Strand Park today. Love for you to be a part of that. JR Sports Bar and Grill is one of the hubs downtown, and they got a great coalition of restaurants that work extremely hard together to make sure that everybody down here is well taken care of. So make sure to come down here and be a part of that today and throughout the year, as we've got the entertainment district across the street and throughout the downtown area. Main Street's got a lot to do with that, and they've a great organization that's brought a lot of good things here to this community. 256-234-6221. Brett, let's run down today's schedule as you look up there on television now. A very big football game for North Carolina as they take a 7-0 lead over Virginia Tech. That's late with 20 seconds to go in the first. We'll have a game this afternoon. The Idaho Vandals, 3-7, are at 5-5. Auburn. Auburn currently ranked, if you look at the numbers overall, and we've been talking about that, Brett, Auburn ranked 91st overall in offense, 80th overall in defense, 90th against the rush on defense. And one, I guess, positive thing, and you feel like you can hang your hat on offensively for Auburn, is they're 43rd in the country running the football. And if they did it a little more and did a little bit more tempo, I think there's something to be said there.
If they had a passing game, it'd be a lot better. And I'll tip my hat to Will Muschamp, starting to get things turned around with the current group that he's got there. I know 80th isn't really anything to be proud of, but it's better than 120th. And he's going to get some things going in the right there. I've seen a lot better defensive play the last 3 weeks.
256-234-6221. The remainder of the schedule's going on this week. You got any that really jump out to you of games today?
Ohio State, Michigan State.
What do you think there, Brett? Do you think Ohio State has just been playing down to the competition, and when they need to turn it on, they can, or do you worry about their offense?
How's this team not just dominant?
Quarterback play hasn't been good.
Isn't that crazy? And you go into this season, they got 3 All-American quarterbacks over there. You look, Cardale Jones played well in the playoffs. Sometimes there's no way to describe what happens to a player. They get thrust into a position, and they just perform. I mean, they're forced to react, and he did what he had to do to win 2 playoff games last year and win a national championship. But we all said it in all season. True test of Cardale Jones is when he's the everyday guy. When the pressure's on him, he knows going in, he's making preparation and all that kind of stuff. And he hasn't been a consistent starter. JT Barrett's been in the ball game playing as much quarterback as he has. He hasn't really been the player that everybody expected him to be this year. So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out for this Ohio State team today against a Michigan State team that is always a scrappy team. We can send thank you cards to Michigan State because in 2013 we wouldn't have gone to the national championship game if Michigan State doesn't upset Ohio State in that Big Ten championship game. I mean, it's just all there is to it. We had to have help. We got it.
You think if Michigan State gets over the hump, wins this football game, puts themselves back in contention to get back in the Final Four, do you think if you add their loss and you also add into that Michigan team where they really lucked up there at the end to win that football game, do you still think they're on the outside looking in?
Could be. It could be Big Ten in danger of not getting a team into the Final Four.
256-234-6221, just briefly, and we're going to bounce around here in the last 20 minutes with a lot of things going on. We talked a ton about high school football. If you're just tuning in, Benjamin Russell will be on the road at Spanish Fort this upcoming Friday. 3rd time in 4 years we'll travel down to Spanish Fort. You wonder why? We've had a lot of questions. Why can't they come up here? What happened this year is it was set up for Spanish Fort to come to Benjamin Russell, but a lower seed won in the first round, Bessemer City being one of those. A 4th seed won, which put Spanish Fort on the road in the second round rather than them hosting that second round event or game. So it flipped the bracket, and when the bracket was flipped, we end up having to go back down there. Is that the best way to explain it?
Northridge beat Dothan. Thank you, Northridge. We appreciate it. Thank you, Dothan, for not holding serve, and that's how that worked out. And so Spanish Fort was forced to travel because if a lower seed upsets, then you travel the next week. And it was set up to where Spanish Fort was going to be home for 3 rounds, just like last year and the year before. Last year they played 4 home games. or the year before they played 4 home games, not last year. They got put out. But the year before played 4 straight home games and went to the championship game. They were set up to play 3 straight home games and then come to Ben Russell in the 4th. And, of course, it wasn't meant to be. But you know what? Things happen for a reason. There's greater plans than all of us know. And all you can do is prepare and work hard this week and be thankful for the opportunity to go play a 4th-round game, because we are one of 4 final teams in Class 6A vying for a shot to go to Tuscaloosa in a couple of weeks to play for a state championship. So be thankful, appreciative, and go down there and play your best game and come away with no doubts and, no complaints that, hey, laid it all on the line and whatever happens, what happens.
College basketball has started. You see some hope on both Auburn and Alabama with the recruiting classes that they're putting together for next year. You can see the athleticism on Auburn's side. Alabama really struggled out of the gate, losing to Dayton by 30 on the road. Your quick early thoughts on basketball season, Brett, as Auburn did pick up a victory last night.
Yeah, they did. Had a chance against Colorado, had a lead, and didn't finish the game, but a lot of young players on this team, a lot of great talent, the most talent of any basketball team I can remember all the way back to 99. And I don't even think in 99 a lot of those guys were just highly touted coming in. We had Doc Robinson, who was Mr. Basketball, and then Chris Porter coming in from junior college was outstanding. The pieces just fell together for that team. But these guys were highly touted. You're getting 4 and 5 star guys coming into your program, and you're building up a deep bench. So you're looking like a basketball team. You're looking like a basketball program that can be competitive and go to multiple NCAA tournaments. So I think that's where you are with that basketball program, and got to be proud of what Bruce Pearl's done.
Alabama on the opposite side, it's a good group that they've been able to put together, but it's Avery Johnson just starting. You really got to look at what Auburn did in first year under Bruce Pearl last year, I would say, if you're Alabama, because he hasn't been able to get the pieces in place that he wants, but he's doing a great job recruiting. And I think he got the best talent here in the state of Alabama. You and I would agree last year. Dazon Ingram, who had a great opening game for Alabama in their victory. Brett, he's a difference maker at point. He's 6'5", he's long, he can handle. He can get the ball to the bucket as well. He's going to be a good piece to them moving forward, in my opinion.
Yeah, you got to get the players to be competitive. All coaches – it takes good coaches to get good players, but coaches know they become better coaches with good players.
Yeah, definitely,
that's the way
especially in basketball.
So, that's the recipe.
Let's go back to the phone lines. Caller, you on Saturday Sports Countdown.
How about those Wildcats?
It was a wonderful game last night. 36-13 was the victory, and it was an ugly game to try to call or to watch. As many flags as we saw down on the field, personal fouls, double digits that we counted in that football game. Your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, being on the sideline, I think this was one of the more intense games. Before the game, Coach Horn went against the script a little bit, and he allowed the students to address the team before the game. And I could see then that this was something that was very important to him. But I just wanted to say first, before I go into the game, you guys did a heck of a job. I know it was kind of bogged down towards in the second half, but anybody that had a chance to watch, the highlights, especially that Tyree run, that was probably one of the better calls of the year. But I think this game against Spanish Fort next week sets up very well for us based on how we've been playing the last 3 weeks. Both lines of scrimmage have been playing extremely well. And as long as number 8 is in the backfield and Coach Kevin Smith continues to call the game plan that he's been doing, I think that we match up pretty well against Spanish Fort.
I love it, Scott. We're looking forward. You'll be here to handle Sports Call with Andy on Friday, so we'll miss you down there, but we'll hope to bring back a win with us. It should be a lot of fun. I can't wait. Love to match up, Brett. I'm going to keep talking about it all week.
You want to play tomorrow?
Please do. Luckily, we don't have to. Yeah, 256-234-6221. We'll go ahead and take another break here on the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown.
Clear. 5, 4, y'all live.
We got about 7 more minutes left here on the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown. We got a lot going on in downtown Alexander City. It's a wonderful time to be a part of this community. They've got a turkey trot beer run and craft beer festival going on in Strand Park. Hope that you'll come out and be a part of that. 256-234-6221 is our phone number, Brett. We've talked high school football a lot there in the first hour of the program. I thought that's kind of where our heart is right now. We'd close out the broadcast today because we know a lot of you were unable to catch that first hour of the program. Benjamin Russell High School on the road down at Spanish Fort. Looking forward to that. Class 7A is already set. What a win last night for Spain Park as they take down their rival Hoover 7-6. 2 victories for them. First time. Let's look at these numbers. Make sure that we're right. You'll know. 14 out of 15 years Hoover's played for a state championship game out of the North.
That's right.
So this kind
of the only time they didn't go, don't you?
Spain Park did, but Spain Park didn't beat them. Who did Hoover lose to that year? I don't remember. Prattville. No, not in the regular.
No, Spain Park lost to Prattville in the championship. You're talking about
who did Hoover lose to in the playoff run?
I have to go back and think. I don't know, but I knew that's the only other time that they haven't been is when Spain Park went. So I don't know. We'd have to look that schedule up. But
congratulations, Spain Park will take on McGill-Tulane. Both of those teams looking for their first state championships.
Yeah, they are. And McGill-Tulane, their record, Randy, they got 1 loss on the season to Blunt. Crazy, isn't it? And that just tells you about that Blunt team earlier in the season, man. They were a point machine, and they put a scare in Spanish Fort. Everybody felt like they may be the team to beat down there earlier in the year, and they talked about matchup problems, and they kind of fizzled coming down the stretch. They ran out of gas.
Bessemer City had a lot to do with that, Brett.
Yeah, they did. But, I mean, outside of that, I mean, before that, you know, they were able to squeak by Saraland, sent Saraland up here, and then the first round game for Blunt. I mean, you could kind of see them. I mean, Chelsea went down there, really should have beat Blunt, and so they really kind of weren't playing their best. That's a point in case of a team that was real good all year that wasn't playing their best football going into the playoffs. Bessemer City was not mediocre; they were a little above average. But we're playing their best football heading into the playoffs.
Clay Chalkville's reeled off 28 consecutive victories here in the state of Alabama. They move into the semifinal game. They'll take on a very good Austin team. This is a large school, the top school, largest school in Class 6A is Austin High School, and they defeat Gardendale 53-38 last night. So it'll be Clay Chalkville, who was victors over Minor 50-14. They'll play to see who moves out of that northern half of the state to play for a state championship again. We'll be on the road to take on Spanish Fort, who defeated Opelika 21-13. That was a big in our neck of the woods. That was a game we didn't see coming.
No, it wasn't a game that we saw coming. And I'm telling you, man, the playoffs, when you get to the playoffs, Randy, it's a one-game season, you know, and if you turn the football over and you play mistake, you make mistakes, then your season is over. And it doesn't matter what you've done in the past and how good your record is all that. So we remember a team in 05, it was 05, right, that we were 6-4 in the regular season, made it to the semifinals. I mean, it's so funny how that works its way out. But I'm just proud of what we've been able to do to this point. It's been a great season. We got one more game in the playoffs to settle up who's going to go to Tuscaloosa. It'd be our first opportunity to go and play in a state championship game since 2001. So, man, it doesn't get any bigger than this.
I know that we'll travel well. Just some of the keys to the game that you see, Brett, as we head into next week.
Don't turn the football over. Go down there and not walk off that field, win or lose, saying, hey, man, we played outstanding. We played the best we can play. We won the ball game because of that, or they beat us because of that, and I got to tip my hat. You know, sometimes, but I don't think if we play our best game and they play their best game that we'll lose. I mean, if we go down there and play our best game and we continue to run the football the way we have and we play defense the way we have and we don't turn the ball over, we're going to win the ball game.
I do think it's our game to win, and we're looking forward to it. We hope a lot of you travel down. We know that you will. It's a semifinal matchup. If you're playing during Thanksgiving week, things have gone your way, and we can't wait. Congratulations to the kids and the programs and their parents and everything. We'll be down there on Friday. For Brett Pritchard, I'm Randy Lee saying thanks for tuning in to the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown.
Y'all are clear. Have a good weekend, guys.